So yesterday I made a really wonderful video and I shared the pics with you, but of course I accidentally deleted the video. so, so I'm having to remake the video and trying not to delete it. So let's start this again. Right. So Flourishing workshop on March 15th and 16th. Please join me. It is going to be an absolutely amazing workshop. And the reason why it's going to be an amazing workshop is because I have reconsolidated my notes on the geometry of flourishing. So I taught this in Turin a couple of weeks ago, and even then I started looking at the notes again, and yesterday I made a really shocking discovery about how flourishing works. So I'm very excited to share this with you in the class. Now, let's get back to this structure of what I missed yesterday. So yesterday I talked to you about this. So yesterday I showed you how over the last couple of days I've taken this text. And I wrote this text out a while ago. Let's just zoom in on that a little bit. I wrote this text a while ago, and then what I did was I scanned it, and I printed it out a couple times. Well, 4 times actually. And I changed the interlinear space so that it was either quite tight, or very open, or larger and a little bit tighter. And there is a 4th version, because there's so many of them here, and let's zoom out. So here you can see a few variations of that interlinear space. So of course we've been working with, I've been showing you the line endings and how they work, and I've had some great comments from some of you about how you've never thought about using line endings like this. And the line endings have a really specific construct. They go from 1 to 2 to 4, or they go from 2 to 4 to 1, or 4, 1, 2, but they're always doubling. So it's really interesting to see how this works. And of course you have to hold the pen staff so it is parallel to the baseline so that you get the shade spreading horizontally. It doesn't work with an oblique pen staff. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go through this, which you've seen images of, and I'm going to redo this so that you get a sense of what it looks like when it's being done in real time. Now, this is the corresponding sheet. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how I work through these smaller interlinear flourishes. Now, the thing about interlinear flourishes is lots of people think bigger is better, and that is not necessarily true. You can have tiny little additions of these little droplets of flourishes, really delicate filaments of flourishes between the text if you have some really wide line spacing, and it looks so much better than lots of big flourishes. So you don't necessarily have to make these large flourishes. Of course, in my ligatures class, I show you how to do little ligatures and how these ligatures can pepper the text with a little bit of magic. So let's get started on this variation. So of course, the first thing I do is I tend to put my flourishes, if I'm going to flourish, I tend to put them on a grid, because it gives me information as to how to keep the flourishes connected to the lines of text. Now, some of you also asked about the ink I've been using over the last couple episodes. So I'm using this new PAScribe ink, which I have been working with in conjunction with Hamburg inks. It is a phenomenal ink. I formulated it so that it would work in a way that no other ink that I've come across works. It'll be out soon. When it's out, I will let you know. So let's start with this. Now, You've already seen the images, and you can go back and look at those and see how they work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with, let's look at this, let's study this. So I started here because if I did this, I might smudge this. So I worked my way across the top, through the middle, along the top, and I worked in a very specific way. So I'm going to show you how to find where the universe will tell you where to put the flourish. So of course this is a couching sheet, so there are lots of sheets of newsprint in there, so it gives a little bit of lift to when you're writing. Just going to check the ink is flowing. So we're going to start with a balancing serif off the A. This is here, I want this to be there. And so I start back here, I find my way through here, and then I want to connect to this D, so I'm going to trace the path I want to match. And add so you see I'm moving through space. Now, I've just looked up at the screen and I can see that this is a little bit empty and this feels a little bit empty, but that has wet ink. So I can add a little flourish there, and you can see that that's balancing it off. And I'm going to do one in its opposite manner. There. And that starts to feel, I can feel it sort of filling the sort of top space. Now, I want to, I've come out of here, so you can go back through the flourish. Here, to there, to there, to there, and to there, and there, and you're starting to see by using, now the flourishes are not as heavy as the text, because you don't want the flourishing to compete with the text. So it's really delicate line work. So I'm going to go back through the flourishing and find where I am, to find where I want to put the next flourish. I kind of feel I want to sort of open this up a little bit. So I would put something. So let's add another balancing serif onto the A. And let's create a little bulb here. We want to start rounding this off. So I'm looking at the screen to see how it feels. Now I'm going to add one to the D. Remember, start at the D and come back to the D. A little bit of a Germanic flourish here, which interrupts itself. So I'll zoom in so that we can see these flourishes a little bit better. Right underneath here, I would like something a little bit bigger. And off the F. And a little bit of weight there. So now I know it looks kind of odd having these odd sets of flourishes in here. But you'll see how it sort of starts to hold itself together. I'm going to take a balancing serif off the A again, but I want to connect it to the M. And to the D, and let's finish this off. Make sure we have enough ink. So I'm going to bring that serif down, all the way down here, trying to keep in line with this. And so that sort of squares the text off. Let's take this off for a bit. So you really get to see what the flourish looks like, sort of filling that space. Now, I know it's not something that a lot of you consider when you're doing flourishing, but notice how fine these hairlines are. I think almost at the limit of the camera. There we go. So you can see how delicate these hairlines are. And they are even thinner than, well, the copy. So you don't need big, massive, heavy flourishes to fill the space. You can really use much more delicate flourishes. And this is one of the things I came across when I was teaching in Turin, when I was teaching this flourishing class in Turin. And over the last few months as I've been doing research on it, And that is how, when we take a flourish, when we write text, you know, we press. And with Copperplate script, you want to not press. You want to be pressing less. So just because the tines can do that doesn't mean that you should make them do that. I tend to aim for just about the width of the reservoir. And that should be the thickest shade. And then, of course, when you come to using flourishes, you don't want the flourishes to compete with the writing. You want the writing to be dominant. So because the flourishes are bigger than the writing, you want to ensure that the shades are not as big as the thickest shades in the writing, or you have a few that sort of draw your attention around the page. So instead of trying to get a nib to do what you want it to do, use another nib. Use a nib that doesn't spread as much, that may be finer than the nib that you've written with. And so you are allowing the tools to help you generate the structure of the line you're trying to achieve, which is really fun, because now it means you need to go and buy more nibs, right? Anyway, so I hope that's given you a little bit more insight into some of the things I'm going to cover in the Flourishing and its geometric framework workshop on the 15th and 16th of March. Please come and join me. It's going to be a great course. We're finalizing the handout, which has been updated with this amazing new thing that I've discovered, which I'm really looking forward to sharing with you. So thank you very much, and I will see you in some other posts, because there's tons of these sheets to get through.